Hurry up! It's time for Tuesday Club Online. You're going to be late. Amy's about to do the warm-up. Come on.
Good evening, Tuesday Club. Welcome back to another week. I hope you're ready to warm up. Let's get some space. If you stretch out your arms, make sure you've got some room to warm up. And we're going to stretch up as high as we can go. Reach for the sky. And down to the ground. And well done. Stretch over to the side. And on the other side. Good. Now what should we do next, boys and girls? Sam! Need some help?
What?
Here's Sam, my brother. He's come to help. What should we do next?
Have you stretched?
We've stretched.
Have you got yourself a nice bit of space?
We have. We've made some space.
Well, then I think it's time for some star jumps.
Oh, let's do it, boys and girls. Let's do 5, shall we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very good. And run on the spot as fast as you can go.
Good idea.
Keep going faster, faster, faster. See how fast you can go. And stretch up again to the sky. And back down. Very good, boys and girls. And see how far you can go for a little run around your living room. Go. Oh, I'm back already.
That was pretty fast. Where'd you go?
I went all the way to Stoke Park. Wow. Well done, boys and girls. Sit yourselves down. Have a good time.
Well, good evening, Tuesday Club. Good to be with you this week. I hope you had a good week since last week. Coming up this week, on this Tuesday Club this week, we've got Andrew talking about his Christian hero person. We've got Lucy with a game, and we've got Julian doing a scavenger hunt. And the Southcombs will be back with the fourth memory verse from Holiday Club all those weeks ago. Do you remember that? Do you remember it? Well, you got a chance to remember it later on. But first, it's me with some singing. So this is good up and downer. Alleluia, 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 alleluia. Let's praise the Lord. So decide amongst yourselves, if there's more than one of you at home watching this, who's going to do the alleluia bits and who's going to do the let's praise the Lord bits. If you're on your Todd, then just do what you like. And it'll sound good. Need you to sing, don't forget to get those hands waving in the air when you do your bit as well. Okay, here we go. Hallelujah, 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 let's praise the Lord. Hallelujah, 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 let's praise the Lord. Let's praise the Lord, hallelujah, let's praise the Lord, hallelujah, let's praise the Lord, hallelujah, let's praise the Lord. Well, that was a bit rusty after half term. Right, swap over, and again, if you're on your own, great, you can do what you like. Again, we're going to go a bit faster this time. Hallelujah, 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 let's praise the Lord. Hallelujah, 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 let's praise the Lord. Let's praise the Lord, hallelujah, let's praise the Lord, hallelujah, let's praise the Lord, hallelujah, let's praise the Lord. And God's people aren't super brave superheroes, so let's get those. God's people aren't super brave superheroes. They don't have muscles from their head to their toes. They're not gladiators. That's easy to see. In fact, it's amazing. They're just like you and me, sometimes scared, shaking and shivering. Brr. See how we go. Here we go. God's people aren't super brave superheroes. They don't have muscles from their head to their toes. They're not gladiators, that's easy to see. In fact, it's amazing. They're just like you and me. Sometimes scared, shaking and shivering. But let's realize we've God on our side. He can do absolutely anything. God's people aren't super brave superheroes. They don't have muscles from their head to their toes. They're not gladiators, that's easy to see. In fact, it's amazing. They're just like you and me. One more time. Sometimes scared, shaking and shivering. But let's realise we've God on our side. He can do absolutely anything. God's people aren't super brave superheroes. They don't have muscles from their head to their toes. They're not gladiators, it's easy to see. In fact, it's amazing. They're just like you and me. Here we go with another song. I'm going to sing Jesus, I praise you. Praise you. Deep down in my heart. Jesus, praise you. Deep down in my heart. I'm talking about deep down, deep down in my. I'm talking about deep. You know it. Jesus, I praise you. Jesus, I want you. Jesus, I thank you. Deep down in my heart. Here we go. Jesus, I praise you. Deep down in my heart. Jesus, I praise you. Deep down in my heart. I'm talking about deep down, deep down in my heart. I'm talking about deep down, deep down in my heart. Jesus, I want you. Deep down in my heart. Jesus, I want you. Deep down in my heart. I'm talking about deep down, deep down in my heart. I'm talking about deep down, deep down in my heart. Jesus, I thank you. Deep down in my heart. Jesus, I thank you. Deep down in my heart. I'm talking about deep down, deep down in my heart. I'm talking about deep down, deep down in my heart. Praise you again. Jesus, I praise you. Where? Jesus, I praise you. Where? I'm talking about deep down, deep down in my heart. I'm talking about deep down, deep down in my heart. Sit down.
Hello everyone, it's Jamie here, and we've got our last memory verse that we're going to learn today. Now don't worry, we have disconnected the doorbell. We have put a perimeter around this house so no one can get in and disturb us as we learn our memory verse today. The memory verse comes from a book in the Bible called Matthew, and what's that? It's another letter. It says to all HBCers. Should we go and see what's inside?
It's a message, but what does it say? It's in a foreign language. It's all Greek to me.
I know, let's use Google Translate.
Let's see. Interact! What does it say?
I am with you always to the very end of the age. Matthew chapter 28 verse 20b.
What does that mean?
Those words are spoken by Jesus, and he's saying that if anyone follows him, if they turn from their sin and trust in him, then he is with us always. That's a wonderful thing, isn't it? That no matter who we are, no matter where we are, no matter what's going on, if we're trusting in Jesus, he is with us always. Let's learn that memory verse now, shall we? Okay, let's learn this memory verse. Let's say it together. Why don't you join in at home? Let's go. I am with you always to the very end of the age. Matthew chapter 28 verse 20b. Great job. Okay, we're going to make it a bit harder now, and we are going to cover up some of the words. Please release the lambs. Okay, let's say it together. I am with you always to the very end of the age. Matthew chapter 28, verse 20b. Great job. Okay, we're going to make it even harder. This time, please release the chickens. Okay, are we ready?
Almost.
Let's go. I am with you always to the very end of the age. Matthew chapter 28, verse 20b. Great job. Over to Jemima for a recap.
I am with you always to the very end of the age. Matthew chapter 28, verse 20b. Very good. Now try on your own.
Hello boys and girls. Well, it's time for a game of traffic lights. Now, I've got a few pictures to help us, and there's some actions too, so make sure you listen carefully, and I'll go through each one. So, first one, green light. What do we think we're going to do here? Well, we're going to jog, of course, on the spot. Okay, next one, we have got the amber light. For the amber light, what you're going to do, you're just going to walk. Just walk on the spot. That's fine. We can do that. What happens at a red light though? Well, red light shows, stop, still as a statue. Great. Okay, next action. Here we go. What have we got? I can't pick it up. Well, we've got a speed bump. What happens in the car if you go over a speed bump? Well, you're going to jump. Okay, brilliant. Next one. It's a roundabout. Going to spin on the spot. Ah. Next up, we've got a bridge. So this time, you're going to have to crawl on the floor, get really low, and go under the bridge. Have you got that? Next one. Oh no, we're in a traffic jam. Slow motion, really slowly walking. Oh, it's taking so long to get anywhere. Next one. This is zebra crossing, of course. You're going to gallop around. Okay, and the final one. Here we go. Pelican crossing. How are we going to do that? We're going to need both hands, so I'm not going to be able to do it with these in my hands. And you're going to fly. Quick. Okay, good. Now, I'm going to do them randomly, and you're going to have to pay attention. To start with, I'll say what they are, but then I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to hold up a picture, and you're going to have to do the right action. So, here we go. First one. Green light. Jogging on the spot. Excellent. What's next? Amber. Oh, just walking. Bit slower pace. Nice. Good walking. Brilliant. It's a bridge. Crawl. Excellent. It's a traffic jam. Uh-oh. Slow motion. Here we go. Oh man. Painfully slow in a traffic jam. What's next? The zebra crossing. Galloping, everyone. Great galloping. Pelican crossing. Flapping around. Let's go, flap. Quick, quick, quick. Brilliant. I think that was a pretty good practice, but I'm not going to give you any clues this time. So if there's someone in your house who forgets an action, they're out. Make them sit down. Okay, here we go. First action. Were you walking? Amber. Here we go. Next one. Stop! It's a red. Next one. What's it going to be? Did you spin? It's a roundabout. What's going to be the next one? It's that bridge again. Crawl on your hands and knees. Traffic jam. What's the next one going to be? Roundabout. What's the next one going to be? Get ready. Speed bump. Jump in the air. What's the next one going to be? Slow motion. Get your slow moving traffic. Oh, painful. So slow. Next one. Pelican crossing. Well, very good, boys and girls. Really enjoyed that game. But I am now not going to say anything whatsoever. I'm just going to hold them up. And we're going to do it really quickly. And you're going to see if you can remember all of the actions. Here we go. First one. Next one. What's the next one going to be? Are you ready? Final one. Are we ready? Oh, we've hit another traffic jam. Slow motion. Oh, we're crawling. Oh man, so slow. I hope you enjoyed that game of traffic lights, boys and girls. See you next time.
Okay, time for one more song. Right, our God is a great big God. Here we go. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. He's higher than the skyscraper, and He's deeper than the submarine. He's wider than the universe, and beyond my wildest dreams. And He's known me, and He's loved me since before the world began. How wonderful to be a part of God's amazing plan. Our God is great big God. Our God is great big God. Our God is great big God, and He holds us in His hands. And He holds us in His hands. And He holds us in His hands. Sit down. Bottoms on the floor. Eyes front. Ears listening. Mouths shut.
Oh, hello. Today I'm going to tell you about a man called Clive. Now, Clive was born just over 120 years ago in Northern Ireland. Now, his friends and family didn't call him Clive, they called him Jack, because apparently when he was a toddler he told them, "I want to be called Jack." And it stuck. Have you got a little brother or sister a bit like that, doing crazy things that just don't make sense? Well, I know I have. Clive, or Jack, wrote a lot of books. In fact, here are some of his books that we've got lying around our house. See, this is nowhere near all the books he wrote. These are just the ones in my house. But most people who've heard of him haven't heard of him as Clive. They've probably heard of him based on the name written on the edge of his books. C.S. Lewis. Clive Staples Lewis. He wrote books for adults and children. He wrote fiction and he wrote non-fiction. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of those. This is a picture of C.S. Lewis when he was a little bit older. But when he was young, he didn't have a particularly happy childhood, especially at school. And by the time he was in his late teens, it was the First World War which he had to fight in and experience the horrors of trench warfare, which some of you might have learnt about at school. So, when he went into young adulthood, He didn't believe there could be a God when he looked at all the horrors in the world. But slowly and surely, God changed his mind.
Surprise!
He wrote about his own personal journey to understanding who God was in a book called Surprised by Joy. When he realised that actually the only way that he could feel true happiness is if he filled the God-shaped hole in his life and didn't try and fill it with all sorts of other stuff. But Clive was a really clever man. During his lifetime he was a professor at both Oxford and Cambridge, and so he used his brain to try and explain to people why he thought Christianity made sense. In fact, during the Second World War, he did a load of radio programmes on the BBC walking through why trusting in God and believing in Jesus made sense. And those lectures are summarised in a very famous book called Mere Christianity. But that's enough about the things that C.S. Lewis wrote for adults, although of course, if there's any adults watching with their children, then you can do much worse than reading Mere Christianity to either remind yourself or discover for the first time about how great God is and what he's done. Now, we're going to move on to some of the things that C.S. Lewis wrote for children. Some of you may have already read some of his books. Here's a map of the world that he created called Narnia. Here's the books. You may have read some of them. There's the most famous one, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, Prince Caspian, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader with Reapy Cheap, one of my favourite characters. Who doesn't love a mouse with a sword? The Horse and His Boy, The Silver Chair, The Magician's Nephew, when you find out what happened at the dawn of time, and The Last Battle, where you find out what happens at the end of time. They're a great set of books, and I thoroughly recommend you reading them, maybe as a summer holiday or lockdown project, who knows. Or, if you're a little bit younger, maybe get your mum or dad to read them to you. But, as well as just being great stories, they teach us some great things about God. At the heart of all the stories is the character of Aslan. Now, Aslan is a lion, and Aslan is the king in charge of everything. He loves all the creatures in his kingdom, but he is powerful and strong. I really like this quote when the children, when they first go into Narnia in The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, find out from the beavers about Aslan and what he's like. Aslan is a lion, the great lion, said Mr. Beaver. Oh, said Susan, I'd have thought he was a man. Is he quite safe? I shall feel rather nervous about meeting a lion. Safe? Said Mr. Beaver. Who said anything about safe? Course he isn't safe. But he's good. He's the king, I tell you. And in this world, we can't promise that following Jesus will always be safe, but we do know that he's good, and life with him will be an adventure. I hope you get a chance to read the adventures that happen in the land of Narnia in C.S. Lewis's stories. They're lots of fun, and there's also things that you can learn too. But before we finish, there's one more bit from the Narnia Chronicles I'd like to read to you. It's actually from The Last Battle, the last book in the series, and it's about a group of dwarves. You see, these dwarves have been fighting against Aslan in the last battle, and they've been captured and tied up and held prisoner in a dark, dingy stable. But when the battle was won, they'd been set free. They were no longer in the stable, and they were no longer tied up. But for some reason, they thought they were. They didn't believe that they'd been set free. And so I'm going to read you the bit where Lucy, one of the children in the story, tries to convince them that they're free. Will they listen? Let's see. Lucy led the way, and soon they could all see the dwarves. They had a very odd look. They weren't strolling about or enjoying themselves, although the cords with which they had been tied seemed to have vanished. Nor were they lying down and having a rest. They were sitting very close together in a little circle facing one another. They never looked round or took any notice of the humans until Lucy and Tyrion were almost near enough to touch them. Then the dwarves all cocked their heads as if they couldn't see anyone, but were listening hard and trying to guess by the sound what was happening. "Look out," said one of them in a surly voice. "Mind where you're going. Don't walk into our faces." "All right," said Eustace indignantly. "We're not blind. We've got eyes in our heads." "They must be very good ones if you can see in here," said the same dwarf, whose name was Diggle. "In where?" asked Edmund. "Why, you bonehead, in here, of course," said Diggle. "In this pitch-black, poky, smelly little hole of a stable." "Are you blind?" said Tyrion. "Ain't we all blind in the dark?" said Diggle. "But it isn't dark, you poor stupid dwarves," said Lucy. "Can't you see? Look up, look round. Can't you see the sky and the trees and the flowers? Can't you see me?" "How in the name of all humbug can I see what ain't there? And how can I see you any more than you can see me in this pitch darkness?" "But I can see you," said Lucy. "I'll prove I can see you. You've got a pipe in your mouth." "Huh. Anyone who knows the smell of smoke can tell that," said Diggle. "Oh, the poor things, this is dreadful," said Lucy. Then she had an idea. She stopped and picked up some wild violets. "Listen, dwarf," she said, "even if your eyes are wrong, perhaps your nose is all right. Can you smell that?" She leaned across and held the fresh, damp flowers to Diggle's ugly nose. But she had to jump back quickly in order to avoid a blow from his hard little fist. "Oi, none of that!" he shouted. "How dare you? What do you mean by shoving a lot of filthy horse muck in my face? There was a thistle in it too." "Oh, I like your sauce. And who are you anyway?" "Earthman," said Tyrion. "She is the Queen Lucy, sent hither by Aslan out of the deep past. And it is for her sake alone that I, Tyrion, your lawful king, do not cut all your heads from your shoulders. Proved and twice proved traitors that you are." "Well, if that doesn't beat everything," exclaimed Diggle. "How can you go on talking all this rot? Your wonderful lion didn't come and help you, did he?" "Thought not. And now, even now, when you've been beaten and shoved into this black hole just the same as the rest of us, you're still at your old game, starting a new lie, trying to make us believe we're none of us shut up, that we ain't in the dark, and who knows what else." "There is no black hole, save in your own head, fool," cried Tyrion. "Come out of it." And leaning forward, he caught Diggle by the belt and the hood and swung him right out of the circle of dwarves. But the moment Tyrion put him down, Diggle darted back to his place amongst the others, rubbing his nose and howling. "Ow! Ow! What'd you do that for? Banging my face against the wall? You nearly broke my nose." "Oh dear," said Lucy. "What are we to do for them?" "Let 'em alone," said Eustace. But as he spoke, the earth trembled, the sweet air grew suddenly sweeter, a brightness flashed behind them. All turned. Tyrion turned last because he was afraid. There stood, huge and real, the golden lion Aslan himself, and already the others were kneeling in a circle round his forepaws and burying their hands and faces in his mane as he stooped his great head to touch them. Then he fixed his eyes upon Tyrion, and Tyrion came near, trembling, and flung himself at the lion's feet. "Well done, last of the kings of Narnia, who stood firm at this dark hour." "Aslan," said Lucy through her tears, will you, do something for these poor dwarfs?" "Dearest," said Aslan, "I will show you both what I can and what I cannot do." He came close to the dwarfs and gave a low growl. Low, but it set all the air shaking. But the dwarfs said to one another, "Hear that? That's the gang at the other end of the stable, trying to frighten us." They do it with a machine of some kind. Don't take any notice. They won't take us in. Not again. Aslan raised his head and shook his mane. Instantly a glorious feast appeared on the dwarf's knees. Pies and ham and pigeons and trifles and ices, and each dwarf had a goblet of good wine in his right hand. But it wasn't much use. They began eating and drinking greedily enough, but it was clear that they couldn't taste it properly. They thought they were eating and drinking only the sort of things you might find in a stable. One said he was trying to eat hay, and another said that he had a bit of an old turnip, and the third said he'd found a raw cabbage leaf. And they raised golden goblets of rich red wine to their lips and said, "Ugh, fancy drinking dirty water out of a trough that a donkey's been in. Never thought we'd come to this." But very soon every dwarf began suspecting that every other dwarf found something nicer than they had, and they started grabbing and snatching and went on to quarrelling, until in a few minutes there was a full fight, and all the good food was smeared on their faces and clothes or trodden underfoot. But when at last they sat down to nurse their black eyes and their bleeding noses, they all said, "Well, at any rate, there's no humbug here. We haven't let anyone take us in. The dwarves are for the dwarves." "You see," said Aslan, "they will not let us help them. They have chosen cunning instead of belief. Their prison is in their own minds. Yet they are in that prison, and so afraid of being taken in that they cannot be taken out. But come, children, I have other work to do." Here's a picture of the dwarves fighting over their food. You see, Aslan offered to set them free, and he gave them good things, but they refused to accept them. In Ephesians chapter 2 in the Bible, Paul puts it like this. He says that by the grace of God you've been saved through faith, and this isn't from yourself, it's the gift of God. You see, when someone gives you a present, you have a choice to make. You can either open it and enjoy it, or you can leave it or throw it in the bin or stamp on it. Now, you'd be crazy to do that, wouldn't you, if it was your birthday and you say, "Oh wow, look at all these presents. Well, let's stick them in the bin." But that's exactly what the dwarves did in today's story, and that's exactly what some people can do when they hear about Jesus. So I pray that you will read these stories, you will enjoy them, but more than that, you will read your Bible and you will enjoy the gift that God gives you.
Hi everyone, time for another scavenger hunt at home challenge, and this week I've been thinking about colours. And well, what's something I've noticed about modern homes, a lot of objects in modern homes are just one colour, aren't they? Can be a bit boring sometimes. So I thought this week's challenge will give you 1 minute to go and find as many objects that you can which are multicoloured, meaning they've got 3 or more colours. Okay, multicoloured. Off you go. $30. 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop. And just put down the things there that I found. Okay, so did you manage to find some multicolored objects? I hope you did. I did. I've got a few things here I can show you. First of all, I've got this pack of batteries. So it's red, orange, black, white. So that's multicolored. And then I've got this well, it's kind of little statue of 3 funny little men, and that's multicolored. Then I also found this, my favorite coffee cup, and I've also got this multicolored tea towel, dogs with spectacles. And last thing I found is this picture of my granddaughter. Yeah, she's wearing a multicolored jumper. Yeah, okay. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things I've managed to find which are multicolored. I wonder whether you managed to beat me this week. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so maybe during the week this week you can think of your own scavenger hunt at home challenges. Try them out. I'll see you again soon. Bye.
And that's the end of another Tuesday Club Online. I'm going to go and read a book now. Why don't you? Maybe you could start the Narnia Chronicles. Bye.